Hey, Dr. Kendra, how are you? Can
Hey,
you
I'm
hear
doing okay. Can
me? Okay. How's everything with the? Well, first, let me introduce you
you hear me
to
okay?
everybody. Yeah, I hear you fine. Yeah, everything's fine. Let me introduce you first. We have Dr. Kendra Segura. She is an OBGYN and Married to Medicine LA star. How's everything with you?
You know what? I'm just glad to be. I'm sitting outside,
Mm,
my balcony, just trying to get some fresh air. You
mm,
know, air because I just need a break. I've been working a lot, as a lot of physicians have,
yeah,
and
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
19. So it's been intense lately.
Mm.
Glad for this morning break.
Or has your like sector of medicine been as busy with everything going on in terms of
Definitely.
I heard the specialists are not necessarily, have the same, amount of business going on as, the hospitals with, COVID going on. So I was wondering what your experience is like.
Yeah, so that was a good question because a
Mm,
lot of people don't think as OBGYNs that we're front lines, but we
mm,
are,
okay.
because we take care of all the pregnant women. And
Mm,
so if they come into the emergency room, I'm going to be the one seeing them. You know,
yeah.
and so unfortunately, it is dangerous for us OBGYNs because a lot of times the pregnant women, they're more prone to getting viruses. They're more prone to getting
That's
sick.
true.
So sometimes treating a woman that doesn't know she has COVID. You know what
Wow.
I mean?
Mm,
So it's real tricky, but OBGYNs, will shout out to everybody that's working hard. We are front lines. All my labor and delivery nurses, you know,
mm,
um, this gets downright, dangerous at times just because, I have a little one at home
yeah.
and, I have my grandmother who's 95, my
Mm,
parents, they're older and they're at risk. And so it's kind of like, every day that we come home, like many physicians across the nation, we're thinking like, dang, do we want expose our family? Should I be living in,
yeah.
in a motel? Like, so it's kind of stressful right now. But we're getting through it.
No, salute to you and thank you for, everything you're doing to help us with, everybody on the front line, all the doctors. A question I want to ask, because, I started off school and as a bio major, actually, and I had this I remember a professor, he would always, express that, there's a lot of more glamorous with like entertainment jobs and stuff like that. But the people who are doctors and, they have more peace of mind and they have more, than the people who are chasing, fame in a sense. And I was wondering how has, being, in front of the TV and reality TV affected your, your peace or your job or anything along those lines?
So how has being on TV affected me at work?
Yeah, work and your
Or
everyday life. Yes.
well, you know what? Surprisingly, you know, I, I guess I really haven't felt much difference. You know
Mm,
what I mean? Because when it work, I mean it's serious. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like there's
Mm,
no time, and especially in this COVID environment. So I haven't really, you know, got much flat back. I
mm,
haven't got much negativity. And it's very separate, just because
mm.
I'm a doctor. So
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes I know a lot of people on TV, and
Hmm.
and sometimes forget, with all the drama or regular drama that happens between women, we forget that at the end of the day, when I'm going into work, like the other physicians on the show, we're really going in taking care of people, and you know
Mm,
we're at the hospital, like we
yeah.
working,
Mm,
so unfortunately it's all been good.
mm,
And like I said, when it's time for me to go to work, all the key and the pettinesses aside, and I'm
mm,
taking care of and I love what I do,
mm.
and I just want to take care of patients like the way I want my mother or myself to be taken care of. So it's all been positive.
Okay. Do they follow you? Like, do the camera crews follow you inside of your workplace at all? Do they like actually
Yes,
get in front
they
of?
were
Yeah.
they were there. Yeah, they couldn't follow me in the hospital, but they
Oh yeah,
definitely were
clearly
there.
because yeah.
The facility that I work in, right on Western and King, right in the heart of South LA. So, if women, if you guys are suffering, I know everybody's scared to go into the doctor's office, but if you're sick, you're sick, and just wear a mask. I just
Mm,
urge all you guys to wear a mask.
mm,
And if fever, you're not feeling good,
mm.
let people know so we can protect ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
So are you ever like? Does that come to mind a lot? I know you mentioned it a little bit, but with you having you're being a new mom, so you have a young daughter at home. Are you ever worried for her sake at all?
Okay, so he is a boy. Okay,
Oh,
he's a
sorry.
Yeah, I get that a lot. A lot of people say your daughter is beautiful,
Mm,
and I don't correct people, most of the
mm,
time, because I get it. He has a lot of hair. You know
mm,
what I mean? My mom recently cut his hair twice. I found out recently.
mm,
Um, and I wanted to have the big 1-year-old cut, but I just found out, she didn't tell me. Somebody else was like, hey, he has like layered hair. You know what I
mm.
mean? But anyway, beside the point, Heart is now 10 months. Shout out to you, baby Heart. Um,
That's a heart.
and so, yeah, I've changed a lot since becoming a mother. Like I'm always, I have a little more anxiety,
Mm,
especially, coming home from work. It's just what
yeah.
I germs, and then now COVID, so I'm very careful.
Mm,
And Hobart, my husband, also is a physician, so we are both. Sometimes we think like, should we just leave him with my mom? You know, should we just kind of grind it out? But again, COVID, I don't know when it's going to end. We don't know when the
yeah.
vaccination is going to. I think this is just our new normal of taking
Mm,
precautions.
yeah. No, I feel you. Mention your mom. It seems like you guys are close, but you grew up in a Vietnamese household, and your father was a military man. He was African American. I grew up with foreign parents too, so I kind of understand the strictness of it. Kind of talk about that experience of growing up in a strict household, and obviously you became a doctor, so I know they're very proud of you. Talk about that experience growing up.
Well, yeah, my growing up, we were because I was raised also. My primary caregiver was my grandmother,
Okay.
who was Vietnamese. So my parents, they worked like a lot of, Americans in the nation. We work. My mom used to work 6 days a week.
Hmm.
My dad fought, and then he was, in the Marines, and then he later joined the Army.
Hmm.
So my primary caregiver was my grandmother. So culturally, me and my sister, we grew up very, I say, Asian. And then you add my dad, and like he wasn't having no boys. So, and everybody that knows me knows that, like, boys couldn't call the house. I mean,
Hmm.
if he picked up from school and a boy was talking to me,
Hmm.
he had his on come out, and he like that look. So I
Yeah.
think just my mom and my grandmother, the upbringing of just we had to study, but thank God I got sports. So my sister really went through all that study,
Mm,
but sports over, so my dad, he was very much involved, always knew where I was at. My parents involved, and they kept us busy. And
mm.
so, I didn't really have time to do much but what doing, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Is that you can use those same methods? Oh, sorry, what was that?
I
It
said they
got cut off
always
there.
knew where we were at.
Okay.
I said they always knew where we were at, and they kept us busy with, doing different things.
Mm. Are you gonna be the same way with your kids?
I have a man. I'm raising a man. So,
Yeah,
all new to me because we were two girls, and it's always like no boys in
yeah.
midlife. My mom used to be like, they'll get you pregnant, and then you have to have a skill. My mom always told me and my sister that we have to have a skill
Mm.
to take care of ourselves because we can't depend on anybody but ourselves.
Yeah.
So with the dude, raising a man, it's different, but I'm going to depend on my girlfriends. I have a lot of girlfriends that are great boy moms,
Mm.
and I'll look to them to see, how do you go about it? Because I know that I want him to be, a leader, and be a man
Mm.
himself. So, I think I'm going to do it a little differently, but
Yeah.
still thing of keeping him busy
Mm.
and there to foster his passions.
Okay. All right, that's dope. Like we just talked about, you grew up in an interracial, you're product of an interracial you know, couple. But you appear as a, black woman to the world. And a lot of the times, black people kind of catch some heat for dating outside of the race, and you're married to an Asian man. Do you get any of those sentiments of like dating within your race, or people telling you who you should be with, or during the dating phase or growing up or anything like that?
Well, maybe like in the beginning, like
Mm,
when me and Hobart first were dating,
mm,
because, right, like, and I want to, make one thing clear, like, a lot of people who are biracial, they
mm,
might get confused or whatever, but my mother was very clear from the beginning. You know what I mean? In the world, you know, it doesn't matter. You know, a lot of Black people, we are all mixed with something. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? In the world, my mother made it clear that, you know, you are Black, you know,
Mm.
and that's what you're going to be perceived as. So I was never confused about who I am. And so, but without denying my Asian heritage, you know what I
Mm.
mean? Perception, how you're perceived, and I think it's power in knowing how you're perceived, you know, in the world, you know.
Mm.
But in the beginning, maybe like, you know, me and Hobart, we used to hold hands. We met in New York, so we used to walk through Manhattan holding
Mm.
hands, and then, you know, I would get looks like from Black
Yeah.
men, like
Yeah.
like you know, yo, not good enough, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or they would actually come up and give Hobart daps, like, man, you must be,
Oh,
you
where
know,
yeah. Yeah.
you you know, you can, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
so I think, like, you know, superficially, like looks, you know, people are shocked. So I think the combination of just being a Black woman with an Asian man, because again, I'm a product of, you know, my mother's Asian, but my dad is Black. So I think society is a little bit more okay with Black men going outside their race,
Mm.
but it's just a different combination when you actually see, like, oh, she's a Black woman and she's with the
Mm.
Asian man. You know what I mean? Because I have a lot of Black friends, you know, and it's usually the dad that's, you know, Black, you know,
Mm.
and so from people who know me, you know, I'm a daddy's girl, you know, I love Black men, and
Mm.
so know me, know that it's not, you know, the assumption is not like, oh, you must have married out your race because you don't like Black men. No, 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 no. The first man I ever fell in love with was a Black man, which is my daddy,
Mm.
and so yeah, so it just is really love, you know, it's, you know,
Mm.
who you fall in love with, you connect with on that deep level.
Yeah. Okay. While we're on the, you know, topic of race, you mentioned in a clip I saw that being an African American doctor in LA is just, and then you left a pause there. You like, it's just like that. It's crickets. So I heard so. But I wanted you to expound on that. What do you mean by that?
You know, I did my training in New York.
Mm.
You know, there's a lot more diversity. You
Mm.
know, I was gone for almost like a decade. You know, 'cause I was
Mm.
born in LA, and when I came back, you know, I've been back. What, this is going on 4 years now. When I came back and I started working,
Mm.
I just was not seeing, you know, people of color at all levels. You
Mm.
know, and so people that, like, hey, people will come up to me and shake my hand. Hey, glad to see that you're here, Dr. Segura.
Mm.
And I was just like, oh, wow, people, California, we're really nice. I forgot how nice and, you know, sunshiny and everybody's all smiles. But that wasn't it. The underlying was that there's not anybody that looks like me there.
Okay.
And so at the hospital that I first came back that I worked at, I was like the only Black OBGYN in that hospital. And it's a
Mm.
huge hospital. So it's wow, like, where are we? You know
Mm.
what I mean? And so it's just here on the West Coast, for whatever reason, there's not a lot of, you know, mocha doctors. And so that's the connection
Okay,
that
doctor.
I really, I
Yeah.
really missed. You know,
Mm.
this is a point, you know what I mean? That to have
Yeah.
people that do and that look like what you look like, because we go through different things. We have a whole another set of issues while practicing medicine. And so I was really missing that when I first moved back here. So it's just, we're feeling far between.
So what do you miss the most of it? Of, you know, just the diversity aspect. How does that affect your job?
Well, it doesn't affect my work per se.
Mm.
It's just, you know, it's a support group because we all
Mm.
need support. You know, if I have a hard day, you know, if I have, you know, a bad outcome, if I'm dealing with, you know, being fatigued, tired, you know, it's kind of nice to have girlfriends, you know, other doctors that look like you
Mm.
know, and they go, because being a physician, it's a crown that it's a heavy crown to wear.
Mm.
And a lot of people, hard to understand. It's just like, I guess, going into the military, like my dad, like he keeps in touch with people that he went to, you know, basic training for in the Marine Corps. You know, they
Mm.
share a bond. If anybody's part of a sorority fraternity, it's like, you know, pledging together. It's a
Yeah.
bond.
Mm.
In medicine. And like I said, mocha docs, we go through a
Mm.
little more stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it just helps with work-life balance to have this support team.
Yeah. I feel like it's more important on the flip side, even with the patients, you know, having African American patients, having somebody that looks like them that they can relate to. Because even, you know, I was at the hospital once, and you know, it was all, you know, doctors that didn't look like me, and I felt like when I was speaking, they were kind of just brushing me off and not really, you know, listening to what I was saying, or maybe it was the way I looked at. I don't know, maybe it just, maybe it's like in my head, but there's always just that thought that like maybe if they were black, I would be, you know, they would talk to me different or have a different level of respect. You think that's the case, or?
You know what? I mean, you know, the flip side is the patient side, you know, the flip
Mm,
side. So I think that it's a comfort level, and I think that everybody wants to be understood, and it's culturally too.
mm-hmm.
So, you know, I think representation really matters because, you know, part of treating a patient, you know, is getting a good history.
Yeah.
And have a communication barrier, you know, how do I treat you and really help you with the problems that you have if you don't feel comfortable or you don't feel like I'm listening? And so I
Mm-hmm.
really get that. That's why I'm big on mentoring. I'm big on mentorship because I didn't have that. And I'm big on really making myself available, you know, to talk to or even text or email. I always try my best, like to reach
Mm-hmm.
to respond to young people that are reaching out to me and asking me questions because I think that's where it starts from. It starts from us. Like once you get to where you are, you got to go back. Like you have to.
Yeah.
Representation matters.
Okay. All right, so I have some OBGYN questions for you, but from the male point of view, because most of our listeners are male listeners. So one
Right?
question I have is, you know, when you're getting intimate with a woman, what's a proper way to tell her that, you know, there's possibly a foul smell without, you know, hurting her feelings too much? What is the proper way to, you know, tell your significant other that?
You know what? That's a great question because
Mm,
see, so I get the women who come in my office and they're crying because they
mm,
have a smell and their boyfriend told them like straight out, like it's
mm,
foul, you know, it's fishy, like you're nasty. So I
yeah,
get consequences of poor communication.
yeah,
So I say if you truly love somebody, you really got to be gentle. You got to be sensitive. You know what
mm,
I mean? I know that in the moment, you know, I know when a guy, you know, you guys are riled up and then you kind of get pissed. Like if you don't want to move forward, there's this offensive smell. But you know
yeah,
what? There's a way, you know what? Another time, there's a way to say, hey, babe, you know, let me take you to the gynecologist, you know, and there's a way to say that you have something, a smell down there, but it's not always necessarily an STD, and we actually call it STI.
mm,
And so I think where the hurt comes from is that when a woman does have a smell because her pH is off for whatever reason, it could be stress, her period, what she's eating. You know, a lot of times, you know, men they jump to the conclusion that it's an STD,
mm,
and so that's not always the case. So letting a woman know that hey, we don't have to do anything now. You know, you do have a smell, babe. I'm worried about your health. You know, and go with you to the gynecologist, or just make sure you know hit up the doctor.
mm,
Not kind of treat at that moment like, oh, you have chlamydia, or oh, you have gonorrhea. Like,
mm,
oh. So I think that kind of being a woman's side, you know,
mm,
letting her know, and you don't have to proceed. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
versus the attack. That's where I get the girls in the office just boo hooing because they're
mm,
dudes that they've been stepping out.
yeah. Okay. Um, you know, I hear a lot of different stories about how men can contribute to, you know, women's pH balances too. You know, we can actually throw it off during sex. What are some things men could do to, you know, prevent that? I guess, you know, a bad pH balance or bad smell or something like that.
Well, I think that basically, you know, we talk about vaginal pH, but men penile pH. That's the
Okay.
thing too. And there's different things like if you're circumcised versus if you're uncircumcised. So for all penises, you know, if you're getting ready to be intimate, you've been out all day, you're sweaty, go wash up real quick.
Mm,
You know, say, hey, babe, let's take, you know, before we get started. That adds to, you know, the hype of it all. You know, getting both partners ready, aroused. You know, shower can do that. So I
mm,
just really feel, you know, you've been sweating, you know, especially if you're not circumcised, you know,
mm,
go and wash. You know, women, we do it all the time. We're like, you know what, babe, I'll be right back. What do you think
mm.
your girl is doing? Like, I'll be right
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
Wash. you know, you guys are in the bed, laid back, like I'll be right here.
Yeah, we ain't gotta do
Nah,
nothing. We're good. You do a little,
bro,
little
what's up? You know what I mean? So
yeah.
that is, go with her instead of just be like, hey,
Mm,
hurry up. You know.
mm, okay. Kendra, I want to thank you so much for coming through today. The next episode is this Sunday at 9 Eastern time. That's 6 p.m. for LA. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Um, is there anything else you would like to shout out or?
I just wanted to tell everybody, just hey, support the show. You know what I
Mhm,
mean? I didn't have people like me growing up like this, so you know, set your DVRs, tell your
mhm.
friends, and tune in. Support.
Okay. Once
And
again, I'd like to thank
everybody,
you for the. Oh,
I'm sorry, I just got to add this COVID thing. You know,
mm,
please, like you know, just everybody still, even though you know the cities, we're opening up slowly,
mm,
but don't rush out. You know what I mean? Just still
mhm.
do what you need to do because COVID is out there, and I know we hear things too much. We get desensitized, but it's still serious, you guys. And just think about your families and still do essential things. And let's see how the city opens up and rolls out. But we don't have to be the first ones in line or you know
Yeah.
getting stuff. Let's sit back and watch and see what happens.
Yeah. That's another question I just want to add before you get out of here. A lot of people are saying it's a money play. Where the economy is crashing, and we have to get people outside before the economy is like has irreplaceable damage. Do you actually see, as a doctor, the numbers going down, or do you also feel like it's a money play? Do you think we're ready to go back outside?
I don't think, as from a health perspective, we're
Mm-hmm.
not ready to.
Mm,
But an economy perspective, even a mental health, like there's people that can't pay their bills. That
mm,
adds to. It's like it's easy for some of us to stay home, but
mm,
for some, I mean, it's a matter of feeding your children, and the government unfortunately can't give enough. It's never enough. So
mm,
we have balance, and so that's why I kind of like before we leave, I wanted to urge everybody like, wait, every family dynamic has a different situation. The government don't know your situation, you do. So
mm,
you have to take all those factors into account. And as the city is rolling out different phases to open up, hey, maybe you don't need to go, get your hair done just yet. You know what I mean?
mm,
But go to work, you need to go to work, you need to go get essential stuff. And so, a health perspective, no, we probably need to be shut down, a little longer
mm,
or a lot longer. But that's just
mm.
impossible. So all
Yeah.
things we have to go back to regular life, but we got to do it smart. We got to
Mm,
do it smart.
mm,
And just because say it's okay to go there, doesn't
mm.
mean. So if it's anything extracurricular, I heard some restaurants are opening up and they're going to
Yeah.
do social eating. You know
Mm,
what I mean? A lot of people are going out, and sometimes people are sick and
mhm,
they're still going out. And that's why I get mad about me being at the hospital. And because I have my son, I'm like, oh my God, like you should tell people what's going on. That's why we're taking people's temperature. But at
mhm.
restaurants or open up, are they going to be taking everybody's temperature? Probably not.
Probably
You know
not.
what I
Yeah.
mean? I just say be responsible and still keep in mind that we have to protect ourselves for each other.
Mhm. For sure, for sure. But yeah, like I said, once again, thank you so much for all the work you're doing, and saving lives and protecting people. And thanks for your insight. Yeah, so this has been
Thanks for having me.
no problem, no problem. This is great,
Okay, you have
very very informative.
questions. No
Yep.
questions. Okay.
What was that?
For the men, those are some excellent questions,
Oh,
and
appreciate that.
especially what can men do to help their girls if their vaginal pH is off? I
Mm,
think that is excellent. And that's probably a whole nother itself, but good questions.
yeah, appreciate that. Appreciate that. All right.
Okay, take care.
All right.